Which level do you want to be?
Oh,
Most people just want to be just above average. They settle for good. But why settle for good when great or elite is possible? That's what I ask myself every day. That's why I ask my members every day, how great do you want to be today?
They say life is 1090. 10% of what happens, and 90% of how you respond. Yo, I'm trying to
that whole 1090 mentality, it's you definitely have to put that into action when you are playing sports, when you do play a sport, because there's so much adversity that you have to overcome if you want to be successful. I mean, you learn a lot about, being a part of a team, buying into a system. All of these things carry over into life. These aren't just things that you just put away once you hang up the cleats. And your mental fortitude is tested on a regular basis. You eventually learn that you always have a little bit more in the tank. People rarely, there have been an exceptional few human beings that have ever lived that ever pushed themselves to capacity, to full capacity. So you always have a little bit more in that tank than you think.
I've heard of something, don't quote me on this, but somebody said, you have about 60% left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But when your
body can handle it, it's your mind to give up. It's your mind that you have to convince. And we say that all the time, during the workout when we coaching people and just taking people through workouts, like it's not your body, it's your mind you have to train. It's your mind that wants to quit. It's your mind that's telling your legs they can't handle anymore. Like, your legs are cool. It's your mind you have to convince. And I think you learn that in football. Just think about like how you felt talking about the dog days, that grind, when you're making the transition from, getting taped and walking out to the field. You know what I mean? Just think about it. Nobody is really trotting to the practice field unless they're late. Everybody's kind of sluggish. You know what I mean? Just kind of slow walking and bebopping and talking about everything other than football because you kind of like dragging ass. You sore, you're tired, you're hot. And then, once you start warming up, when they blow that whistle, you strap up, man. And it's game time, you just automatically go into another place. But 4 or 5 minutes prior to that, nobody felt like it. And you learn to push through when you don't feel like it.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? You learn to let your passion take over. And that's why I think it's very important for people to be in a field where they're passionate so they can experience that type of vibe again, especially athletes. It's all about developing healthy habits, man, strong habits. It's who you are when nobody's watching. If you got to do 4 sets of 10, do 4 sets of 12. You know what I mean? Go above and beyond. Build habits. Get in the habit of doing the extra, of going the extra mile. You know what I mean? Instead of doing 4 sets of 8. A lot of times people will do 4 sets of 8 at home on their own, and they think when they get to school they can just turn it on. It does not work like that. Because you might have the mindset and the desire to kick it up a notch when you get to school to get with everybody else. But because you didn't put yourself in a position to level up, your body is not ready for it. Your body will only respond basically to the level that the habits you put in.
Just know that practice,
yes, that's
and training,
yes, that's where
that's mandated by the program, that's the minimum.
Oh, that's the minimum, yeah.
What's going to take you to that next level is what you do when no one's watching.
Nick Saban said, you got 5 choices. You can choose to be bad at what you do. You can choose to be good at what you do, which is kind of like, no, you can be bad. You can be average. You can be good. You can be exceptional or elite. Which level do you want to be?
Oh.
Most people just want to be just above average. They settle for good. But why settle for good when a great or elite is possible? That's what I ask myself every day. That's why I ask my members every day, how great do you want to be today?
I think that's a really good point. Young athletes, young professionals, wherever you are in life right now, you just got to look in the mirror and just be honest with yourself. Where you want to be.
How much you want? It's buffet style out here. How much do you want?
And I think
And I'm not referencing money.
No.
I'm talking about, think about where you want to be. Think about what it's going to take to get there. Just ask yourself, all right, how much do I really
want that? Because that's what matters most. That's 100% what matters most. You got to be honest with yourself about what it is you want. And be honest with yourself how bad you want it.
Yeah.
And then what are you willing to do to get it?
Yeah.
And more importantly, what are you willing to give up to get it?
Yes. What are you willing to give in exchange for what you want? Because you're going to have to sacrifice. For me, at this time, still in my life, and one thing that has blessed me over the last 6 years, one thing I was willing to give up, really before then, is sleep. I realized if I got up early, that is my meal ticket. That is my lane. If I get up early, I basically extend the amount of hours that I can work. I can master my craft. I can facilitate more ideas and business ventures. I get to meet more people. It just multiplied my talent and it multiplied my network. You know what I mean? Just being able to be up consistently, more things happen to me because I work more hours.
Right.
More equals more. You know what I mean? And I caught on to that early, and that's a simple principle, but some people aren't willing to give up an extra 4 or 5 hours of sleep. You see what I'm saying? A day so they can, grow exponentially. But to me, I was.
Time.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important and that's the most valuable resource that we as human beings have. You can't replace time, so you have to be extremely strategic with your time and intentional with your time because everything that you do comes at a cost. Yes. There's an opportunity cost attached to everything. And I got to give a shout out to my good brother, Gerald Collins. He's the owner and founder of Black House Coffee. On our episode where we was talking about ESAP, and we was talking about free time. And he commented on that episode and he was like, there's no such thing as free time. Maybe leisure time. There's no such thing as free time. We're talking about lessons that you learn from sports and how that transitions into real life. And we also talked about the concept, the theory of 10-90. Life is 10% what happens, 90% how you respond. And when I thought about a player that epitomizes that whole mindset, the 10-90 lifestyle, the person that came to mind right off bat was Jalen Hurts. Just think about his starting at Alabama. Week 1, first play of his career, fumble the ball, USC, right?
Yeah.
Bounce back, get the W though. Run the table, national championship. Lose the game on the last play of the game against Clemson.
Yeah.
The next year, national championship, here we are again. Mm-hmm. Struggles mightily against Georgia. Mm-hmm. Ends up getting benched at halftime. Tua comes in, saves the day. Yeah. Now Tua's the man. Yeah. And you lose your job on national TV, on the biggest stage. But to think about how his career started, and he went from like the highest of highs to lowest of lows, the highest of highs to absolute lowest of lows. Yeah. Being benched, but staying humble, having that humility, being a class act throughout it all. A lot of guys would have buckled and folded and whined and tucked their tail and act like, woe is me. Yeah. But, life happened to him. And I say, when it happened to him, it happened in front of the world, bro. Mm-hmm. The decision he made and how he chose to respond to that adversity and look at where he is now. People are talking about him. I think they just did the 100 top players in the entire NFL, and he was number 3.
Oh, yeah. I think I heard a story was after the game when he got to his parents, when he got back to the hotel. And this is the benefit of having a father. You know what I'm saying? He got in the hotel room with his mom and his dad. And he just broke down and cried and was like, what are we going to do now? And his daddy said, we're going to fight. That's what we do. And the way he came back and competed against Tua as a quarterback, to me, speaks volumes of his success today. Because it was in a lot of those practices and a lot of those moments that none of us ever saw is what made that Super Bowl quarterback. You see what I'm saying? Like just honing his craft, mastering his craft and honing his skills and Yeah, of course, he probably had some real bad days out there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That we don't even know about. I'm sure he had some days where there was a glimmer of hope where he saw signs of greatness where he was duking it out with Tua, probably spanking Tua's ass. You know what I'm saying? So it was that back and forth, that day in and day out grind that I think about now. I just wonder what those days were like. What was that internal dialogue that he had for himself? And because I just really feel like he was made right then and there, not on the wins, but on those losses when his dad is like, hey, we're going to go back and fight. But that generates a hunger. And that's so crazy. And us talking about this, oh man, I can't wait till we go to the next topic of our prediction, because I was talking about that quarterback battle and the quarterbacks that we've had. When you think about the legacy under Saban, I'm starting to feel real good about it, because you had Jalen that led to Tua, that led to Mac Jones, that led to Bryce Young.
Now,
Ooh, I don't think that question mark is as big as people think it is.
well, I'm definitely excited to see him. We could just get right into predictions for the year.
Yeah.
So let's start there. Well, since we were talking about Jalen, let's stick on with the NFL for a moment. Let me get your Super Bowl prediction. Who you got for the AFC and the NFC, and who's your Super Bowl champion?
I think it'll be a rematch of Jalen and Mahomes, honestly, and I think Philly is going to pull it out this year. And the reason why I think it's a rematch is because I just saw this beautiful story, is this documentary called Quarterbacks, on Netflix. Is put together by Peyton Manning, and it was talking about like Kirk Cousins. It talked about Mahomes, and who was the other? And Marcus Mariota was on there. But I got to see like an inside scoop of who Patrick Mahomes is, and I can honestly say, with the respect that his teammates have, how much fun he's having out there, and just how much of a competitor he is. With Andy Reid, he's here to stay. He's going to be a fixture in the playoffs. So I see him coming to the big dance and getting there, and I feel really, really good about Philly. I think that was a snapshot of a rivalry that we could possibly see again on the big stage.
That's what makes the NFL so great, because of the parity. You never really know one year to the next. And it's always a team that surprises you.
Yeah, of course.
So I am, with that in mind, I do have a team that I think maybe a lot of people wouldn't pick for the Super Bowl. We'll make it to the Super Bowl from the AFC, and I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens.
I thought you were about to say the Bengals.
No, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I feel like they do. The past few years, they've been kind of decimated with injuries. Yes. He finally has a couple of weapons around him. I mean, last year, bro, by the time they made it out of training camp, they were down to like their third string running back, had lost their first string receiver. They've upgraded the receiver position. They should have had J.K. Dobbins back healthy, starting the year out. So I feel like they'll start the year out healthy. And I feel like Baltimore is one of those teams that's just built to start making a run around week 14, which in the NFL, all you got to do is just stay in the hunt. If you make it into the playoffs with some momentum, with the type of team, the type of defense, the type of coaching, and the culture that they have up in Baltimore, I just got a feeling that they one of them type of teams that can get hot at the right moment this year. I'm thinking outside the box, and I'm thinking it's going to be Baltimore, and I'm thinking you're right. And I would love to see Philly pull it out this time. I would love. We talked all about what Jalen Hurts is, what he stands for, what he's all about. I would love to see him finish the job this time. Yeah. And, hit that, I'm going to Disney World. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And let's transition to the college game, man. For me, my four, super, cliche, but I'm going to have to give it up to, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, USC.
Man, stay out my brain, bro. That's my top four. I'm rolling with Bama. I'm rolling with Georgia. I'm rolling with USC.
And we talk about Bama and their question mark at quarterback, but I look at Georgia and Ohio State kind of in the same boat. They're going to have a first-year starter this year.
Well, not only that, those are programs that play. They have great athletes, across the board. Typically, they can break the game from any position, great on special teams, excellent defense, excellent run game.
They just built for it. I mean, those programs, the top in recruiting classes every year, so they have the best athletes.
So you basically like Ohio State over Michigan?
Of course. I think Michigan and TCU should be banned from the playoffs. I don't care what their record is. You know who I'm going with for the national championship. I wouldn't wear this if I was going to pick someone else.
Yeah, that's true. First round of the playoffs, I would like to see Bama and USC, and I would like to see Georgia and Ohio State. I think that'd be a really, really good rematch. I think that'd be really, really good for college football. And then the winners of those, which I would take Georgia and Bama, have the rematch for the championship. That's how I envision it. And I think that is one of the best case scenarios. Of course, I'm biased. You know what I mean? I'm a Bama boy, and I also live in Atlanta, so I want to see those two fight for it on a bigger stage. I hope it go down just like that. And Bama putting the smack down, winning by a grand margin of 1 point, at least.
Oh, well, that's all we need. That's all we need.
They say life is 1090. 10% of what happens, and 90% of how you respond. Yo, I'm trying to elevate, so I'ma take the ups with the downs. Pound for pound, the greatest, God gave me the crown. Graduated from the streets, got my cap and my gown. Made mistakes on the way, but I turned them around.